There was a massacre in Honorton. No survivors. Well, except her.
The gods. What happened? A bandit attack?
Something like it. Another Witcher did it. The spook they were having trouble with killed them. I think I'll just say, yeah, something like that.
You could say that. You'll look after her?
Truth be told, you'd do better to take her with you.
Funny. Used to be folk were afraid we'd take their kids.
Used to be folk weren't so in need. Got 4 of me own grandkids. Used to be 6, but we buried 2 last winter.
I'll give you money.
Hard to live off naught but bark soup.
Here, take the money.
Take this. Use it for food, and only food. If I come back and see you drinking.
So much. The gods reward you, Master Witcher. 1,000 blessings.
What's been my favorite quest / moment from The Witcher? My favorite questline was the Bloody Baron. The Bloody Baron questline was incredible.
No.
This one was really good, though. This is actually probably my favorite side quest in a hot minute.
Witcher's lot in life. Always on the road, on the path.
Will you come back and see me sometime?
Hope so. Take care, kid.
This was a great quest. Like, this is one...
Come, child. We'll buy a bit of flour. Your aunt'll whip up some pancakes. Sound good to ye?
Like, I really enjoyed this quest line. I just want to keep coming back and being like, I just want to keep coming back and being like, here's another 40. Here's another 40. Here's another 40. Alright, I'm gonna mark this spot on the map, and one day we will come back here. Alright. There's a... Ooh. Pancakes, hell yeah! Pancakes make everything better. That's a fact. Your entire family got murdered by a like a freakish mutant abomination that was pissed about not getting paid? Pancakes. Solves everything. How much gold do I have? Nearly 25k.
Come on, Roach.
One of the cat school headquarters was later used as a hideout by one of the big bad guys. Cool. Wow. Hello, bandits. You got it, Roach. That's not my job. That is not my profession. That is something that happens often, but it's not my profession. Nope. I don't know where that guy went, but he just kind of blasted off into orbit. Ah, yes, the classic slice them in half from 5 feet away maneuver. Never gets old. Yeah, cute little hidey hole here.
Foglet, ghoul, grave hag. Wonder why he didn't turn in these trophies. Maybe they tried to cheat him then, too.
Hopefully he didn't kill all of them. Letter to Gayton. Gayton, it's over. Soldiers have taken the school. They killed Axel and Cedric. As for Schrodinger, well, I can't say for sure. Might be alive, might be dead. I hate this guy. I should have killed him. I should have killed him. I should have killed him when I had the chance. Bounties have been put on your head and mind. Avoid cities and the high roads. Don't attract any attention. Really? Schrodinger might be alive, might not. I should have killed him. I should have killed him. Just for being associated with that letter. I should have killed him. All right. Let's see. Back to contracts. Next up is the Oxenfurt Drunk, which is super freaking far away. Okay. Let's head. If we head south, we will hit Midcoast. South. Just woke up. What's the TLDR of what's happened so far on stream? Not what Luke said. Okay. It's a bit.
Whoa there, Roach. Faster.
If you use cheat on gold, you'll meet a tax collector and can get an honest taxpayer diploma. What? If you use cheat on gold, you will meet tax collector and you can get honest taxpayer diploma if you tell correct, usually not true answer, or you will need to pay the tax. Tax collector, that'd be interesting. I mean, the game was delayed like months ago, or like earlier this month, last month. Last month? I don't know, it's all kind of mingling together. There has not been another delay. I haven't made enough money for the tax collector yet. Oh, bummer. I wish that was true in real life. Interesting fact about Archaon, please. I mean, if there's a lot about Archaon. It kind of depends on like how much you know about him. Probably the most interesting fact that not a lot of people necessarily know is that Archaon was actually a Templar of Sigmar. In his first life, his original life, he was actually a Templar of Sigmar. He was a very, very not fanatical, but he was a very religious man. He was very pious. And he wasn't a witch hunter, he was a Templar, so he was like a knight. And he was just a big badass that served Sigmar faithfully, killed a lot of big... He wiped out an entire Beastman tribe by himself. Like, he was a badass. Really, really skilled fighter and warrior. Loki, hey, thanks for the bits, my dude. Let's see here. How do the Empire Witch Hunters treat, for example, high elf mages when they catch one of them casting spells? Do they need to be registered? So no. Elven wizards, as part of kind of like the trees on the colleges of magic, do not need to be registered with the Empire in order to cast magic. However, as to how they'll be treated, witch hunters can be very... So elves are a very, very, very unusual sight in the Empire. To the extent that if an elf were to walk into like a regular village in the Empire, the people who live there would very likely think that the elf was like a demon or a spirit. Usually they accuse them of being demons. It has happened in the past that an elf has gone to like a rural village in the Empire and has been killed because the people thought that they were a demon. If they started casting magic, ooh boy, that would get ugly really quick. Witch hunters are usually pretty good about respecting the laws, but there are definitely overzealous witch hunters out there that if they saw an elf, they would be extremely suspicious, and if they saw an elf casting spells, they would absolutely try to kill them. There are many witch hunters who are cruel, spiteful assholes who would go out of their way to try and kill an elf if they saw an opportunity present itself, especially if they were a wizard. But in general, the elves are so rare in the human kingdoms that no human tends to be very trusting of them. And there are a lot of extreme racists against elves because they think they're otherworldly or monsters.
Here to talk about the contract.
Contract? Ah, yes. Put my mark to something of the sort. Seems a creature's attacking lonely passers-by, abandoning their corpses in gutters around Oxenfurt.
Isn't that something you should look into?
Perhaps, but we've a ploughing war to win. I've got the time to clean gutters.
Yeah, that, so Mozgoth, That particular note is something that was written in the Black Library book for Archaon. If you want to consider it canon, you can. I don't consider it canon for telling the story of Archaon because it just opens up too many problems. Like, it was... The Black Library author put it as like a really fun idea to try and demonstrate how Archaon didn't really have a choice in the matter. And how, like, other gods were trying to stop Archaon from coming to existence. But Be'lakor powered through, but it opens up a whole bunch of wormhole, or like, it's a whole bag of worms if you open that. So when I talk about and tell the overall general story of Archaon, I leave out the multiple realities thing. But in his Black Library book, there is essentially a system where if Archaon dies, that timeline essentially is then reset to before he does whatever it is that leads to his death, and destiny changes just enough to prevent him from dying. It's a fun book, but a lot of it doesn't work in Archaon's story for like the overall global perspective. But yeah, it's literally save scumming. It's Be'lakor just save scumming. Is there a book about chaos I would recommend? I mean, the Archaon duology is, or sorry, the Archaon trilogy. The Archaon trilogy is good. It's a fun read. It just has a lot of like, you have to be careful when you're applying it to like the broader stories of the Warhammer world. If you're looking for some really good books, though, I would heavily recommend either picking up the Champions of Chaos Omnibus, sold by Games Workshop right now. You can pick up the Champions of Chaos, or I would also recommend the, I think it's called like the Warriors of the North, or the, something like that, but it's, I think it's got Wolfric on the front page. But the Champions of Chaos features the books, I think, about Valkia, Egrim von Horseman, and somebody else. Oh, Sigvald. It's Sigvald, Egrim von Horseman, and Valkia, if I remember correctly. Really, really good trilogy of books. Kind of all slapped together. Charger, you gotta be patient, dude. you gotta wait until I get down to your turn. No, give me a minute. All right, so let's check off all these. But yeah, I would recommend those books. Archaon's storyline. I think you can pick up Archaon's story as an omnibus now. I think it's just called like Lord of the End Times or something. That's a really good read. And then Chaos features very prominently in a bunch of other series that could be really, really entertaining. Swords of the Emperor is really, really good. The Blackheart's Omnibus is excellent if you want to get like a really cool sight on Chaos. I would also recommend heavily the Gotrek and Felix. Never go wrong with Gotrek and Felix. Loki, good to see you. Welcome to the stream, by the way. Alright, what's the personality / attitude of Khorne and his followers? Can I explain a bit, like how do they act towards each other? Khorne's followers, in the vast majority of cases, are just extremely... Swords of the Emperor. Swords of the Emperor.
Redanian arm is no band of scruffs. We can afford to hire a witcher.
But what I was saying is that the... Wow, this is really... I can go really high on this contract. The, what was I gonna say? Oh, Khornates tend to be hyper-aggressive. Like, they are really, really big, aggressive, over-the-top, testosterone-filled crazy boys who loathe any forms of weakness or cowardice. They believe that the only way to prove yourself is to be fighting in battle, and that the only way to solve any scenario is to fight. And for them, might makes right, and everything else is just a matter to inflict violence. There's very, very little subtlety among Khorne's legions. They tend to be very full of rage and anger and hatred. Very, very rarely you will get
taken a more reasonable tack. We're finally getting somewhere, but it's still too much.
the more like reasonable among Khorne's horde are very rare. Generally, they are kind of very egotistical and rage-filled maniacs who just want to, like sever, take skulls and spill blood. That's all they care about.
I see you've taken a more reason.
340?
I see you've taken a more reasonable.
325.
Very well.
Okay.
That I can pay with a clear conscience.
Room attack. Did the gods of the mortal races come to be in a similar way as the Chaos gods? Sort of. The Chaos gods are...
I'll take the job. Need to hear some
How do I
details.
explain this?
You'll learn everything I know.
The Chaos gods are emotions that bled into what we know as the ether, or the realm of chaos, and those emotions that were very, very prominent among life at that early state, at that time, coalesced together and ended up becoming something akin to a god. Which eventually led to the birth of the Chaos gods, and once they grew powerful enough to become sentient and aware and started to have ambitions and desires, things got complicated. And once they attacked the world and the Great Cataclysm happened, and everything kind of settled down after the Vortex was summoned, the Chaos gods had kind of become self-sustaining aspects of these emotions, but then people actually started worshiping them as their own identities, which made them even bigger. The mortal gods of the gods that are not part of the Chaos Pantheon are ideas that have formed into religions. And these religions worship a god that is empowered by that faith. So when you are worshiping a god in Warhammer Fantasy, your worship is their sustenance. Your worship is what gives them power, gives them life, gives them the ability to do things and to exist and have influence over the world through your faith in them. One of these days, I'll probably dedicate a big video to the nature of gods and like how exactly they function, but that's kind of the general gist. Fun reminder that Mor wrestled the first mortal soul out of the grasp of the Chaos gods. That seems incredibly unlikely. That's definitely just a myth. The first mortal soul to die probably happened before Mor existed as a concept. Actually, the first mortal to die definitely happened before the Dark Gods. But even the first soul that died to the Chaos Gods, Mor was not a concept. Mor is a human god, and Mor's earliest existence that we can track to goes back to the city of Kazvar when it was still around. That's the earliest point we can say Mor definitely existed. And I want to say Kazvar was founded like 2,000 years-ish before the founding of the Empire. But yeah, no, Mor definitely did not do that. Unless, like, the Dark Gods had, like, a soul that was the first soul they took, and Mor eventually snuck in and stole it. But Mor did not exist for a good couple thousand years. After, at least a couple thousand years afterwards. It took humanity a little while to stop being, to get a little organized and get their gods worshipped into existence. Humanity in the old world. Nehekara had a jump start, and Cathay had a jump start, but they had their own situation going on. And Mor is not worshipped there.
I'd like to examine the victims' bodies.
A corpse is a corpse.
I see the wounds. Might be able to tell what kind of monster killed them.
Ask our Sawbones. He'll know if the corpses have been burned or not.
Treasure Rhino, have a good night, dude.
Find him in the hut on the riverbank.
Get some rest.
Our impromptu morgue.
Any witnesses to these attacks? Anyone see the beast?
Some woman survived an attack. They say she's not been sober since. I'll try the tavern in Oxenfurt if you're willing to try talking to her.
Won't give me any trouble with the reward, will you?
Nah, I want this out of my hair.
Mor is Usirian? No. No, Mor and Usirian are very, very different gods. Mor is a god of death within the old world, Mor has a lot of specific rules and laws that he follows. Usirian is a very different guy. Usirian is crazy different.
What can I do with you?
Usirian is very specifically the Nehekaran god of the underworld.
Might pick something.
And he very strictly enforces the rules that, wow, that's a really damn good sword that I cannot wield yet. But no, they're very different entities. They have similar domains, but they would not get along. They would not get along at all.
So long.
Usirian is more than happy to allow the Nehekarns to come and go through his relationship with the Lich Priest. So, like, the souls of Nehekarns are are happily allowed to come in and out of the underworld. Thanks for the waffle. Mor would never allow that. Mor would, like, if you try to steal souls or just take souls from Mor's underworld, he would absolutely break your back over his knees.
Oh, will you buy a round for a victim of the beast?
Tell me about the monster. How you were attacked.
I'd need
All right, Papa
another
Chaos, have a good one,
bottle
dude.
to get through it.
You'll do fine without it. You don't need
I
to
think
have
you'll
more.
tell me everything I need to know. Bottle or no bottle.
Pop.
Yes, I will. I was leaving the inn that night. Might have had a drink or 5. I'm sure I wasn't hallucinating.
Thank you, Claw. Thanks for the hydrate.
Something down an alley called my name. It was dark. Couldn't see what it was, but it wasn't no human. Of that I'm certain.
What makes you so sure?
I just know. This thing grabbed the hem of my skirt, but I broke free and ran.
That it? You didn't see much.
Don't believe me either, do you? Fuck you! Fuck you all!
Well, I mean, to be fair, that was like the most vague thing in the universe, woman. Let's go see the medic real quick. I probably need to make the law a more expensive redeem. That hurts my voice. Hey Sotek, what effect do you think the introduction of Kislev and Cathay will have for AOS? Hopefully more diverse cities of Sigmar, dude. Like, I'm really hoping they're gonna release lots and lots of cool models for Warhammer the Old World to be like, hey, you can also use these in your free cities.
You the medic? I'd like to see the monster's victims.
Oh, yes. I've not had them burned yet. Must get to that.
You done autopsies yet? Intend to?
Why would I? Beggars and vagrants. Every last one stinking of cheap wine.
Mind
Rude.
if I have a look?
In point of fact, I'd prefer you didn't sniff around.
Gonna make me come back with a written order?
Good grief. Pushy, aren't we? Here, the key to the morgue. Look all you want.
That's suspicious. Ugh. Why has he got like a well full of entrails? What kind of shop's he running
was
here?
drunk. Someone dragged him over the cobblestones. Fang marks on his neck. Vampire sucked his blood.
Great, a vampire.
Vampire bites and the strong stench of alcohol. Just like the other one.
Great.
If you were an ordinary man, I'd diagnose anemia. But
Was there ever a 5th Chaos God that the old ones or someone else killed off? Not that we're aware of. There are a lot of gods, and something that the Warhammer lore does establish is there are gods that get killed. Gods get killed all the time. A lot of gods will pop up and will be devoured or consumed by another god before they have enough time to get established, or they get in a fight with a god they shouldn't have and they get ripped to pieces, or people stop worshiping them and they essentially starve out and die. Like, that kind of crap happens all the time. That is not an unusual thing to occur. But, yeah, it's,
Haven't you heard?
there's no record of a 5th Chaos God, though, who was, like, killed. Like, the closest thing to a 5th Chaos God is Hashin, the Great Horned Rat. But we don't know. Like, there might have been some major creatures and gods and stuff. Maybe there were that fought the old ones, and the old ones were able to spank them.
Pretty worn.
But we don't know.
Silver
for sure.
under the gilding. Too big for a woman's wrist. Attacker lost it most likely. Fondness for jewelry. Wounds on the victims' bodies. Everything suggests a Katakan. Except this vampire likes the blood of drunkards. That's the way to lure it out.
Talk to the innkeep and get drunk. Oh yeah, let's get wasted to summon a vampire. When the old ones learned of the orcs, did they try to kill them off? Yes. Yes. When the old ones, the second the old ones became aware of the greenskins, which was in about, I think the greenskins arrived somewhere in the ballpark of like 8,000 to 7,000 years before the founding of the Empire. They actually, it was probably more like 8,000 or 9,000 years. It's notated as having been somewhere in the ballpark of some point after 10,000 years before the foundation of the Empire. The old ones noticed they had a greenskin infection, and they created the Saurus, and the Saurus were sent out across the globe to wipe out the undesirable races, one of which included the greenskins. But the lizardmen and the old ones were not able to exterminate them. Because just like in 40k, greenskins are pretty much impossible to make extinct. Because their spores can end up everywhere. And the greenskins were able to survive by essentially going down into the deepest, darkest places. And they survived in the deep caverns of the world, where the lizardmen and the old ones couldn't really effectively get to them. Let's see. Junker Diego, do you think because of Larlorn not being so isolationist in Midland Nordland, elves are more popular, not being as scary for people? In the new lore, yes. So in the new lore of Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay 4th Edition, Larlorn is back to being an elven colony that is like active of wood elves. And the people of Nordland and Midland and Reichland are more used to elves, but they still don't like them. And the odds of you ever seeing an elf are still hilariously tiny, like insanely tiny. For many of the people of Nordland and Midland, like, they're still going to be insanely racist against elves, especially because there's a lot of myths and fear involving wood elves about them, like stealing your kids, or anyone who goes through the forest dies, or they like kill woodsmen, and they do all this nasty stuff, and they treat humans very nastily. So it's like, there's a very popular thing in the Empire known as the knife ear tax. And the knife ear tax is basically a unofficial policy that a lot of humans have, where they intentionally jack up the prices for anything involving elves, because they don't want them around, and they hate them and want them to leave and punish them. Johnny, I did, because I removed it from my queue, but you can ask it again, just in chat. I'm looking for you.
I remember you. What'll it be?
I need a drink.
Want to get drunk off my ass, and it's got to be on cheap wine.
Trouble with the lass? Or did your enterprise go under?
Neither. Just part of the job.
He's like, weird
I'll
job.
need you to pay in advance.